here. I am going to be making this footstool. A friend asked me to make it, and I actually gave her like 5 different designs to choose from, and she chose this one. And I didn't notice how small it was until I started making it. And so I called her and said, hey, you know, this is this and this size. And she said, yeah, it'd be great if you could make it bigger. So it's originally 9.5 wide by 12 on the top, and she wants it 18 by 12. So I'm going to be making this bigger. And the pattern can be found in this really, really old Woodsmith magazine, number 35, dated September, October of 1984. Crazy, huh? So, yeah, I'm gonna be doing that. And the wood I'm going to be using is a piece of maple, which I need to cut in half and glue together, and then a piece of blue pine, which I also need to cut in half and glue together. Yee! So there's a jig that has to be made for this, and it is found in the same magazine, just a couple pages afterwards, but it's cutting box joints, and it shows how to cut box joints at an angle. So it shows you how to make the jig. So I get to try to do that too. Woohoo! So the first things I did were to cut those boards in half so I could glue them up. The boards just weren't wide enough, so this will fix that. I went and used the neighbor's jointer and put a nice edge on all these. Woo! Now I'm gonna glue them up. Yay! I tried a little bit of salt just to keep them from moving when tightening the clamps, and it really seemed to work. And I did that with both the legs that are blue pine and with the top piece, which is maple. I also glued up some other boards for the smaller one I had started already, and you can see them towards the back. Wiley and Gibbs came up and gave me some puppy love. Then I followed the directions to make the 10-degree angle box joint jig. It said to cut a 2x4 various ways with the blade at a 10-degree angle. Then I shortened that piece over at the chop saw. Then attached it to the miter gauge that comes with the table saw. I took the boards out of the clamps, and since husband was sanding, I thought I would sand at the same time. He was working on another resin table. He's been making a lot of them, and they look so cool. Then I ripped my boards down to size and left a little bit extra so I wouldn't have to worry about the finger joints matching up. I asked husband to show me how to install the dado stack, and on the saw stop you also have to change out the safety brake. So he showed me how to do those things. I wanted the finger joints to be 3/4 of an inch. This would take all of the blades in the dado stack. It was pretty straightforward to put it all in. Then he raised the blade to widen the slot in the insert, and it was ready to go. I added the 3/4 inch finger joint guide to the jig, and I wanted it to be solid, so I put a screw in it, and of course it stuck up a bit. So I smoothed it down with a little disc. Then I was ready to start sawing the finger joints. This is the piece for the top of the stool. For the first couple, I used a clamp to help me hold the wood in place. And I had to use a clamp when I was on the other end too. But doing the middle ones, I could just hold it with my hands. I flipped it over and did the same thing on the other side. I didn't follow the directions exactly here because I knew since I made these a bit wider, I didn't need to be concerned about the finger joints lining up just right. With them all being wider, I could fit the joints wherever and then trim them to size. I hoped that was going to work anyway. And on each of the side pieces, I only needed to do this one end. Then I assembled it all together, seeing where it would work the best, then marked it where I wanted to cut them to the final size. And to do this, I needed the regular blade on the table saw. And since husband just showed me how to put the dado stack on, I was able just to take it off and put the regular blade back on. Yay! Got it, I think. Woo! Okay, now to do some trimming. And I trimmed that top piece right up. Then mark the side pieces, which will be trimmed at an angle. And I cut that on the bandsaw and then smooth it up with the belt sander. Then assembled it again and it looked like a step stool. It calls for this handle inside, so I measured that out and marked it, and I'm going to take it over to the drill press to drill it. I drilled 2 holes and made a line between them to guide the scroll saw. I'm using my Hegner for inner cuts because my friend Joe sent me a quick release that he had modified, and it seems to work really well. Thanks, Joe! Now I'm going to put a round over on the inside of this. Yay! I went around the handle area on the top and underneath. Then did the sides that didn't have finger joints. Now the legs need this round over here. So I grabbed this, and it says to put it like an 1.5 inches away. So I think I'm just going to measure this, put it 1.5 inches away from here. So 1.5 inches would be right there. That there. Okay, 1.5 inches right there. And then I could clamp it. Just hold it there. Okay, and then this is supposed to be 4 inches, which is 4. And that's the center right there. So I'm just going to make a leg for it. And I'm going to make it a little bit wider because I don't want this knot to be here. I mean, the knot's cool, but let's just take the knot out. Okay. There, that's better. Like that. Put the next one here. Then did that for the other leg too. 1.5 inches. There. Alright, let's go cut those out. Then cut them on the scroll saw and sanded them with the spindle sander. And rounded over all the sides that didn't have the finger joints. I had made some stretchers that will go under the top just to help with support, so I rounded some of those areas too. Then I sanded everything with the orbital sander and then did some hand sanding. Next was assembly. I first added the stretchers to the underside of the top board of the stool. I drilled with a countersink bit, then glued and drove the screws in. Next was to glue the sides on. I placed some glue and used a brush to spread the glue around the finger joints. Then clamped it all together. When it was dry, I sanded any proud finger joints away using the belt sander. Then went over it with the orbital. Well, and the joints just didn't look that great. Yeah. Well, I'm going to just go around all of these with this little bit and see if it works. A little jig of my own with the phone ring. I really hoped this would make it look better. I was expecting these joints to be all perfect and pretty, but they weren't. I thought routering may make the spacing look even at least, and that would look better. I do love to hand router, but I am still not steady, and I made a few nicks and wavy lines along the way. But it did look better than before. Then I measured where those stretchers were and drilled a hole and countersunk a screw to secure those stretchers and solidify everything. Then I made some plugs and glued those plugs in to hide the screws. And when the glue was all dry, I sanded those flush. Then I did the last bit of hand sanding. Okay, let's test it out. Woohoo! Yeah! It works! It works! Then I added a verse to the bottom. I picked Job 31:4. It says, "Does not he see my ways and number all my steps?" I thought that was perfect for a step stool. And has anyone read the book of Job? If you think you're having a bad day, then you should read the book of Job, because he had a really bad day or a week or whatever the length of time was. It's a pretty crazy read. A little bit of the paper got stuck on there. Can you see that? And a little bit there. So what I do with that is I just put some water on it and it comes right up. The paper. There. Yay! Now I'm going to add my little logo plug, and it's going to go right there. So I have this all set up, and we'll just start drilling away. Ah, perfect. Let's go glue it in. I couldn't get the plug to come out, so I used a piece of Scotch tape and that lifted it right out. So I put some glue in there and then the logo plug. Then I put some Old Masters gel poly on it, wiping it on and then wiping it off after a few minutes. I used a toothbrush to get down into the finger joints where I had routed the spaces. I wiped it out as much as I could and then also used some compressed air to blow out any extra. Yay, the stool is all finished! Yay! I want to stand on it, but I don't want to get dirty. So I have this paper right here, and I've stood on it already. So, yay! Yay! So I think it turned out okay. Even though I wasn't real thrilled with this, I think it looks okay. No, it isn't the best. Still has some boo-boos there, but it's going to serve its purpose, which is being a step stool, and I think it still looks cool, especially from far away. Yeah. I never made a stool before, so this is pretty cool. Yeah, yay! Maybe you saw some more wood in the background because I made a second one, because I was going to make one, it was too small, And so made that one bigger. But I had already started on the one that was too small, so I'm just gonna keep it for me. I am 6 feet tall, so I don't know how much I'll need this, but you never know. So this is the one that's walnut and oak. And this is English walnut, I believe. Anywho, did the same thing in there, the verse and my plug. But this one, I made these even bigger, and then I filled it with wood filler that I stained ebony. I was thinking of putting resin in there, but it would have been difficult to just fill that up with resin. I'd have to tape it, and I guess it could have been done, but I did it this way. And you know what? It's pretty cool too, and very sturdy. Let's check it out. This one I don't mind getting dirty since it's mine. Woohoo! Yeah! Woo! So thanks for joining me, everybody.